Last hurrah, the 7th episode of Season 3 of The Summer I Turned Pretty, doesn't surprise us with any plot twists, but it does reveal most of the truth. After all, your bachelor or bachelorette party is the ideal occasion to get intoxicated and face your secrets. Belly's Lola tongue, suppressed affections for Conrad, Christopher Briney, are nearly enough to keep her sober after she takes a couple unexpected shots of tequila. I've been annoyed by the lack of recognition of Jeremiah's, Gavin Casalegno. We were on a break, cheating this season because we haven't heard anything about it since episode 3. I ought to have trusted the authors of The Summer I Turned Pretty and Jenny Han. However, they are really skilled at revealing a secret at the ideal dramatic time. Everything now makes sense to Conrad as he hears Jeremiah, Redbird, Tanner Zagarino, and their frat pals excitedly talking about Jeremiah's illegal spring break get-together. Conrad has an opportunity to reveal his affections for Belly all of a sudden. After what Jeremiah had done, how could she really be content with him? Since the start of the season, I've been asking myself that same question every week. It goes without saying that this season, I haven't been a huge fan of Jeremiah Fisher. Previously, he was believable as the lively, kind, and most crucially gregarious sibling, but that portrayal has been difficult to locate this time. He's also been aloof, insecure, and envious, if we ignore the infidelity and the please forgive me marriage proposal. His actions up to this point may have been explained away as Jeremiah merely trying to work out his connection with his father and failing to recognize Belly's demands. Perhaps annoying but also comprehensible. After all, he is in his early 20s. At that age, who has everything worked out? However, Jeremiah's possessiveness erupts to an almost ridiculous extent in episode 7 of season 3 of The Summer. I must give Gavin Casalegno the credit. His connection with co-star Lola Tongue has never really convinced me, but his acting in this episode effectively highlights Jeremiah's worst traits. The scene where he briefly converses with Conrad during the bachelor celebration bar crawl makes this particularly clear. Importantly, this occurs prior to Conrad learning about Jeremiah's affair in Cabo. The way Jeremiah addresses his brother and effectively claims Belly as his family is oppressive, and the way he transforms Conrad's compassion for him into Belly's new duty is scathing and agonizing. The scene's script is excellent. Casalegno's body language, the phony smile, and even the expression in his eyes make the script unsettling, almost frightening. From the start, Conrad and Jeremiah have been antagonists. However, more than ever before, Jeremiah is portrayed in this episode and Casalegno's portrayal as a vulture rather than a potential love interest for Belly. We could now examine Conrad Fisher's proclamation of love in the moonlight in great detail. In summary, you could really feel the pain underlying Briney's words, and his performance was heartbreaking. His admission is a fantastic continuation of the previous 2 episodes of The Summer I Turned Pretty, which focused on Conrad's experiences and drew attention to the conflict between Belly and the oldest Fisher sibling. However, Belly's response to Conrad's remarks seems oddly inappropriate, as though it were a reaction to a different love triangle than the one we've seen in the program. I'm not sure if Belly's speech was taken directly from Jenny Han's We'll Always Have Summer because I haven't read the novels, but it would explain the strange discrepancy. Belly's statements such as, "To me, you will never be what Jerry is. No matter what, he still loves me. When things get tough, he doesn't take it away." It doesn't seem like a real reaction to Belly's feelings or the events of this season to say, "Nobody has ever treated me the way that he does, and most icily, you and I were never anything." Yes, we are aware that Belly is lying to herself because the wedding is taking place on the same weekend and she had a panic attack in a club restroom lately, wanting to tell Jeremiah that their nothing happened Christmas weekend. We are aware that she also thinks she loves Jeremiah. "You and I were never anything," however, doesn't seem to reflect Belly's inner monologue or flashbacks. And could she really think that Conrad doesn't take away his love when things get hard, when he reminds her of what Jeremiah did in Cabo? Remember how he didn't speak to her for a year between the events of seasons 1 and 2? I'm not sure whether the gap between Belly's speech and the story is due to the unexpected absence of her first-person narration this season, which makes it harder for us to understand her mental state, or the fact that this season has largely ignored Jeremiah's positive traits in favor of, naturally, emphasizing his negative traits, but it felt like Belly's agency was being taken away from her once more. Her words didn't feel like these. Either the legacy of the book or the ghost of Jeremiah watching over her shoulder made them seem like something she had to say. Nevertheless, Tong's performance in which she sobs on the beach after pushing Conrad, it was a gut punch away. I really do feel sorry for Belly as a character, even with her shortcomings this season. I feel like I have a clear idea of how the remainder of the season will unfold as the big day draws near. It will depend on how it is carried out whether or not that is a good thing. However, in terms of drama, The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3, Episode 7 really went for the kill. I can only imagine how hot the wedding will be.